Helen here with Eyes on the Game, and I'm being joined by the man himself, Mr. Jason Parillo. Now we are here at your gym. You're always so busy, you stay busy, but so much coming up. First off, RDA, his fight against Colby Covington. Can you kind of talk about, the status of that?
Oh, well, I mean, that's an exciting fight. Obviously we're in line. RDA was in line to fight for the title against Tyrone. But from what my understanding is, he's not going to be fighting towards the end of the year, and RDA needs a fight. That's how he feeds his family. He's got to stay busy, and he likes to stay busy. So, yeah, it's satisfying. Which is nice is, you got a Brazilian going up against this Colby Covington, who obviously he's got a lot of Brazilians not liking him these days because of things he says. Yeah. But you say things and you're going to get the backlash of it, and I think it would be satisfying for the Brazilian fans to see a Brazilian go in there and whoop his ass.
Yeah. So are they still working on finalizing the fight? But pretty much they both signed, though, right?
I know RDA's agreed to it. I know it's something that he's just waiting on the confirmation, really. I know it's talked about. I know they're thinking about doing it. I don't know the exact reason what's holding it up. But, yeah, I mean, it sounds like that fight's going to happen. I'd be excited if it did. And
I believe, I've read so far, that it is for the interim title?
Yep, the interim title. Yeah, the interim title.
Yes.
Yeah, because it's been how long since Tyrone's fought? Yeah, which is nice because that'll put Hoffa in obviously the guaranteed position to fight for the title.
Chris Cyborg, she just had that incredible, as always though, performance against Yana. Can you kind of talk about, where her fight stands with Amanda Nunes? Or, is that going to happen, or who would be next for her?
Well, yeah, I think what we were hoping was going to happen was Amanda was going to, win her fight coming up here in Rio, and then and be ready to fight again in July, which was I think which we were planning on and hoping to happen. But we'll see. You got to go fight by fight. We still got to wait for Amanda to fight her title defense and see how that goes. And if it goes well, which we're hoping it does, we're hoping that lines it up for us to come together in July.
And in general, though, do you think that Amanda, and we kind of talked about this before, where a lot of people thought Holly Holm would have been the toughest opponent for Chris. Now, do you think that Amanda will be the toughest opponent, or who, in your opinion, would present some kind of challenge for her?
Well, my opinion's always been that Holly Holmes was going to be the toughest fight. And I think she showed that by going 5 rounds, because of her movement, and her experience and on her feet. And Amanda obviously is a very tough opponent as well. I personally think that Holly poses a little bit more threat just because of her movement. But yeah, everybody's a threat really at the end of the day. You got to take everybody serious, and that's what Chris does. She takes everybody serious. We took Jan as serious as we did Holly. You know what I mean? You have to. You got to take everybody serious. You got to respect it, because otherwise, if you don't, at the end of the day, you go back the other way. The saying is, easier to win a title than hold on to the title, so you got to keep it serious all the way through. Yep.
What about Michael Bisping? Is his final fight just right around the corner?
Well, it definitely has to be, if it ends up being a final fight. We're hoping, obviously, you got Liverpool coming up, and I know Mike would love to finish his career in England. That's ultimately where he'd like to, retire. But we'll see. Again, this game, as you well know, is funny. It's you never know what's going to happen. Mike's been involved in quite a few fights that happened in a 3 to 4 week span of time. Came together.
What about opponent? Who does he want to fight, and who have you guys talked about?
I know we were almost lined up to fight Rashad there at 205 as well. Why suck down to 185 if you're not campaigning for the title? But we'll see. There's a couple names that I like Rashad because I'd like to see him fight a guy that, he had a close split decision loss to Rashad in the past. As you're going out, it's nice for something to mean something, and it's nice to erase a loss. So, something like that would be a great idea for me.
Saw on your Instagram, you've been working with TJ Dillashaw. Can you kind of talk about, just how long you've been working with him, and what do you think about how he's doing?
Yeah, he's been coming in here a little over a year, I guess now. He's a great kid. He's a great fighter, man. I enjoy working with TJ. He's a humble kid, and he's got a lot of respect, and he listens, and I think he gained some stuff from me, and I always gain from every fighter I work with as well. So, we got a good relationship going, and he'll be in this week, and he'll be continuing to train until he, obviously he works with Dwayne Ludwig as well. You know what I mean? That's his man. But he likes to pop in here, and I know he's moving down here on a full-time basis.
And there's rumors or talks that it may be the rematch with Cody Garbrandt for him. Do you have any updates on that, or who it might be? Yeah,
I have no updates on it. I mean, I really don't. I mean, I kind of focus on whether fight's the next one, and anything can happen. Like that's why.
Up to the day of.
Yeah, it's up to the. So you can't be. We'll see what happens. I would have loved to see that fight with Mighty Mouse. Actually, I don't know what happened with that whole deal, but that would have been a fun fight to watch. And obviously the rematch with Cody would be amazing too as well. So, TJ is a stud, man. He's in the gym full time. Just like it's easy for him. You see guys. You got RDA in here. He's training like a future world champion. You got Chris Cyborg is kind of when you have that title, it's a tough thing to hold on to unless you're discipline yourself, staying in the gym, living a clean life. It's going to be a tough thing to defend because everybody's coming at your back. Everybody's going to put 100% of themselves into that fight when they fight you. And fortunately, what I like about TJ, he stays in the gym. He go 5-minute rounds on the hand pads, and he's going as hard in the first round as he is in the last. So, a work ethic like that is always a pleasure to work with.
Yeah. Updates on Tito. And because I know, sometimes, he'll put out there and give us all a tease, if he would ever come back or not. Right.
No, yeah. Hey, we've all been seriously talking about him and Chuck Liddell fighting for a third time. And I would love that fight. I would love that fight for Tito. Tito's fight. I'm fine with Tito retiring as well. Tito has had a Hall of. I mean, he's Absolutely. Done more than most will ever be able to do in this sport, and so he can really walk away with a smile on his face. He finished on his own terms, but doesn't mean that he's not a fighter still. Doesn't mean he still has a heart of a fighter, and doesn't still mean he doesn't want to get that revenge on a guy like Chuck Liddell. I don't think any other fight really is attractive to him or to us or to anybody, but I think that Chuck Liddell fight, if that was able to put into play, I think it'd be a fun fight. I think he'd definitely go for it.
And are there talks with that, behind the scenes?
There was some talks, but I think and that's a tough thing. You got two older guys, you know what I mean, and they all want to, everybody wants to capitalize as much as they can at the, in their twilight time, you know what I mean? So, yeah, I think there was some talks about it. I don't know if they're continuing or not, but, we'll see what happens. It'd be fun if it does. Yeah.
And what about BJ? How's he doing, BJ Penn?
BJ Penn was just out here, actually, last week. He was out here. He came to stay with me for a week. He wanted to come out and train a little bit, because he's always on the back burner of BJ's mind. There's another guy that, fighter, real fighter, I mean, and something that I think occupies quite a bit of his mind all the time. So he was out here. It was great. I had him moving around with RDA, had him moving around with TJ. You know what I mean? So he's in there with high-level, current world champions, you know what I mean? And, he felt good and he was having a good time. But BJ, we'll see what happens. If he decides to take it serious again and wants to go out for one or two more fights, we'll see. Because I've always said about BJ, the way he's looked at his last couple of fights, I tell him to himself, you know what I mean? If you're going to come out and look like that, we don't need to fight anymore. You know what I mean? Really, at the end of the day, in all due respect to him, I love to death. The guy's a beast. The guy, he was in here the other day, like I said, moved with RDA and TJ. I mean, that's just, coming off the couch, At the end of the day, if he decides to take it serious, I got his back and I'm going to support him, but we'll see. We'll see if that's a decision that he makes. And to me, taking it serious means coming out here on a full-time basis, away from your world, you know what I mean, and really 100% commitment, you know what I mean, a commitment to where it's the most important thing in your life, you know, and that's the only way these guys are going to, you know, on this level of the game, fighting for the UFC, unless it's the most important thing in your life, you don't even waste your time, you know, if you're basically disrespecting the sport by not taking it serious, you know, so it is what it is.
Yeah, and so I guess we will all just have to wait and see. I mean, it's a new year, still early in the year, so anything can happen.
What, for BJ?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, BJ is the most unpredictable guy. But Guy is a different breed, and he's a very intelligent fighter, and I'd like to see him put 100% of himself into it, you know, dedicate himself to it for a handful of months, and give it. If he gives another fight a shot, I want him to give it 110%. You know, I want him to give it all. You know, he's got to be there mentally, physically, emotionally, all together. You know, and it's a tough life to live. You know, that life. And I'm not saying he can't do it. I'm not saying he's not willing to do it. You just got to want to do it. You got to want to do it more than life itself. You know, and unless you don't want to do it more than everything else in your life, you know, it's not something you need to quit.